What's up, guys? The Chad Champ here, and I think we've all been laying in bed one night or standing in the shower and been overthinking about stuff. Whether it's something you should have said in a past argument or the fact that you forgot to defrost the chicken yesterday, almost everyone does this, which is exactly how I came up with the premise for this video. And yes, this video does contain spoilers. After reading the recent comic about how Doomsday was in the process of taking over the entirety of Hell in DC, as well as hearing about the hype and controversy about Satoru Gojo's fight and death at the hand of Sukuna, I decided this would be a heat matchup. These two characters share multiple themes with each other, including holding the accolade of contributing towards the strongest hero of their universe dying, as well as being able to adapt to pretty much anything they come into contact with. For simplicity's sake, I'll be using the main continuity version of Doomsday, as this version has the most to offer when it comes to this matchup. Also, this isn't a traditional kind of versus matchup, where I'd normally address the stats and various abilities of each character, then give a conclusion as to who would win. It's more so a direct comparison of their main ability to see which is qualitatively better overall. So it'll be a deep dive into how good their adaptation is by seeing what their bodies can overcome and adapt to, if there are any limits on the ability, and how well it holds up against beings much stronger than themselves. Mahoraga is one of the most powerful Shikigami of the Ten Shadows technique, capable of being summoned by those in the Zenin clan who have inherited the technique, such as Megumi Fushiguro. Mahoraga is a true force to be reckoned with. In his first appearance, he was shown to be so powerful that he drew the attention of Sukuna during his time possessing Yuji Itadori's body, with the King of Curses later commenting that the summon could have probably beaten him during his own fight with Megumi earlier in the series. In the ensuing battle, Megumi is knocked out due to Mahoraga being unable to be controlled, thus becoming a threat to everyone else on the battlefield. While fighting the Divine General, Sukuna deduces that his opponent is capable of adapting and overcoming any and all phenomena after using his dismantle technique on Mahoraga, only for the monster to be too durable in order for the slash-based move to have any proper effect. Sukuna then theorizes that after being exposed to his previous attack, then Mahoraga would most likely have adapted to all slash-based attacks, so he opts to finish Mahoraga in one single attack in the form of his flame arrow. As Sukuna sets up the kill by activating his domain expansion to hold Mahoraga off, we see just how well the summon's adaptation works, as he's able to come back from being reduced to nothing but blood via Sukuna's cleave attack, though he ultimately loses when Sukuna all but nukes Shibuya with his flame arrow technique. Mahoraga then makes his return during the fight between Sukuna and Gojo, where Sukuna uses his will to help adapt to Gojo's techniques, allowing him to eventually beat the strongest sorcerer of the modern day. It should be noted that Mahoraga's adaptation is dependent on the wheel above its head, as when Mahoraga is exposed to stimuli, the wheel first needs to begin to rotate before his adaptation can kick in. So should someone put Mahoraga down before his adaptation can actually activate, then he would lose. I think to find out how good Mahoraga's adaptation is, it would be best to take Sukuna's prior statement about the Divine General being able to adapt to any and all phenomena, and then consider what that would include in verse. The most basic type of hacks that the statement would encompass would be soul manipulation, based on Mahido's capability to interact and mold souls like clay. Gojo's unlimited void technique also floods the target with so much information that their brains basically end up overloading, resulting in said target dying. We also see that Mahoraga was the main reason that Sukuna was able to adapt to and counter Gojo's infinity. To put it in layman's terms, this ability is a form of space manipulation, where Gojo effectively appears to put infinite distance between him and his opponent to the point that they become slower the closer they get. We also have someone like Kenjaku, who has a curse ability that allows him to manipulate concepts to a fine degree in battle. Other abilities would also include map manipulation and power null. Doomsday was originally a baby born during the era of ancient Krypton, an environment where only the deadliest and strongest beings could survive. As an infant, he was taken by a scientist named Bertrand and subjected to the many hostilities of the planet, whereby he'd perish and then be cloned, but each time with the added benefit of being able to resist what was responsible for his previous death. Eventually, Doomsday's body adapted by itself by developing an extreme level of adaptability, allowing it to become practically immune to whatever it was exposed to, should it survive of course. Doomsday went on to kill his creator after remembering what the scientist had put it through. The ancient Kryptonian went on to fight and adapt to many foes in the same period, such as thousands of Green Lanterns, but was eventually stopped and killed by the energy-based being known as Radiant. Doomsday's body eventually made its way to Earth, where he encountered Superman and the Justice League of that time. He easily dispatched of everything and everyone thrown at him, other than the Man of Steel of course, and after being pushed to the maximum of his power, Clark was able to access a hidden well of strength that he didn't even think existed, and was able to kill Doomsday, though the fight ended in a stalemate. Having appeared multiple times after the death of Superman, whether it be the same version or a clone, Doomsday has almost always been presented as a top tier force due to his adaptation. In fact, as of recently, Martian Manhunter dubbed Doomsday as the most adaptable creature ever designed. This would include beings like Deathstroke, who has implied that once he's been exposed to a poison, it wouldn't work on him again, and the statement would also encompass Doombreaker, who was a result of a regular dude being infected by a leftover Doomsday spike. This version went on to produce extra arms and even wings, while also showcasing what is probably Doomsday's biggest power when it comes to his adaptation, that being increased strength. The biggest example of this likely being when he meets Superman for the first time and is unable to budge the Man of Steel at all. However, as soon as he makes contact the second time, he launches Clark from the spot he was previously standing in. Doomsday has shown he's been capable of adapting to super unconventional abilities on top of the former mentioned ones, such as the time he adapted to the energies of a Green Lantern Corps member, and then forcibly took and used his ring to get to Oa, homeworld of the Corps. Eventually, he fought a Guardian of the Universe in a one-on-one battle, and simply just adapted to his powers, eclipsing the Blue Man's strengths and abilities and then killing him. Now, the reason why this is impressive is due to the nature of the energies used by the members of any of the Lantern Corps, as they are directly derived from the emotional entities such as Ion and Parallax, with each entity embodying the emotion they represent. The emotional spectrum also exists throughout creation, which would include conceptual realms such as the God Sphere. A more recent showcase of Doomsday's adaptation is when he showcased that he can resurrect from memories of himself that exist within the minds of others. And when Martian Manhunter tried to contain those memories within his own psyche, Doomsday eventually began to manifest within the body of J'onn J'onzz. Another demonstration of how crazy Doomsday's adaptation is occurred during the Hunter-Prey storyline, where Doomsday travels to Apokolips and then fights Darkseid. In the ensuing battle, Doomsday is blasted by the New God's Omega Beams, which should have erased him from existence. However, he simply takes them and continues with the battle. Now, while I'm aware Doomsday was amped in this encounter with Darkseid due to using a boom tube, which would have increased his size drastically, I do feel like he should be capable of withstanding the Omega Beams regardless, as a younger Darkseid actually met Doomsday in the distant past and assessed that he could not detect any weaknesses within the creature. Now, the reason why the Omega Beams are so impressive is because they are capable of not only erasing beings from existence, but also erasing other new gods, with the race of high-dimensional beings having been described to be living platonic ideas, so the beams would be capable of not only interacting with, but also erasing concepts from existence. But Doomsday simply took them and kept on trucking. So who has the better adaptation when all is said and done? I think when looking at the quality of abilities that both combatants have been faced with and adapted to, it does seem that Doomsday is the more impressive character in that regard. His ability to adapt to high-level conceptually destructive attacks is super impressive, so this is a given considering how he's normally always presented as a top-tier villain in a verse with a nutty cosmology. Doomsday has as well showcased the superior ability to get physically stronger as a means of adapting to the superior strength of someone he is fighting. Meanwhile, Mahoraga seems more impressive when it comes to his body adapting in order to develop countermeasures for the techniques that he's being attacked with, such as when it was used by Sukuna to help adapt to Gojo's Infinity. Mahoraga also seems to be capable of adapting to lower level stimuli better, such as when he developed gills in order to avoid drowning during his fight with Sukuna. Though, both combatants share the weakness of being unable to adapt should they be hit with an attack that's more or less a one-shot kill. Doomsday's adaptation can also negatively affect him, which we see when his mind grows beyond the primal rage and acting off of instinct, which originally protected him from being affected by mind manipulation. I think it's pretty clear that Doomsday has the better adaptation, and being as JJK will eventually end, whereas Superman and his mythos are likely immortal, he will only continue to get the better showings. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, comment and subscribe.